So in a previous video, I talked about the three main ways to strengthen an argument on the SAT reading and writing section. And here I'm going to talk more about the second of those three ways, which involves providing additional evidence when some partial evidence has already been given. So in other words, either building on that existing evidence, or in the case of the weaken example, we'll look at finding some contrary evidence that sort of counters the existing evidence. And then in part two, we'll look at an additional example that is a little bit more challenging than these first two. But let's just go ahead and get into it. Looking at this example and making sure to identify the researcher's claim as well as any evidence that has already been given. So, something that would support their claim. What is that claim? Many marine biologists will tell you that identifying whale songs by species, region, and behavioral context relies not only on established acoustic markers, but also on intuition developed over years of experience. In a recent study, however, researchers trained a deep learning computer model on thousands of whale song recordings and found that it could identify them as accurately as a team of expert biologists could. Some marine biologists have expressed concern that they might be replaced by such computer models, but the researchers claim that the outcome is highly unlikely. Okay, so a little bit complex here because we've got this concern of some marine biologists, but the researchers' claim is that that outcome is highly unlikely. In other words, the researchers are saying, no, AI or computer models, not likely to replace humans, specifically human marine biologists. Okay, what evidence have we already been given here? This, the idea that a computer model, AI essentially, could identify whale song recordings as accurately as a team of expert biologists. Okay, given that, do these researchers have reason to worry? Maybe, but the only way that they could really be replaced would be if that's the only thing that they did. Like the only thing that a marine biologist or these marine biologists did was to identify whale songs. Yes, they might have something to worry about, but I'm not a marine biologist. I don't necessarily even know a marine biologist in real life, but I would imagine that the job of a marine biologist involves other things besides just identifying whale songs. It might involve teaching, writing papers, supervising research, doing other kinds of research out in the field, etc., etc. And unless those things can also be done by computers, they shouldn't have to worry too much about being replaced. And so let's go to the answers and see what we find here. So in the researcher's study, the model was able to identify whale songs more quickly. So that wouldn't support it. If anything, that would add to their concerns. If it could do it more quickly and as effectively, that's another point in favor of the AIs and not the marine biologists. B, in the researcher's study, neither the model nor the biologists were able to accurately identify all the whale songs that were presented. Well, that's not really related to the claim being made one way or the other. It's not that marine biologists need to be perfect or that the AI needs to be perfect. The idea is that the AI is as good as the marine biologist. Does that mean they're going to be replaced? That's the issue. So B is not relevant. C, a survey of marine biologists showed that identifying whale songs limits the amount of time they can dedicate to other tasks that require human expertise, such as designing conservation strategies and conducting field work. That is going to be our correct answer, because even if AI can do this one task as well as the humans, we've got other tasks that, at least for now, only humans can do, and so that would strengthen the researcher's claim regarding the job safety of marine biologists. Answer choice D, most of them received training in identifying whale songs as part of their variety. That's not really relevant. Doesn't matter how they receive the training. It matters that they can do some other things, at least some other things that the computer models can't do. Now, this idea of additional evidence can also apply in cases where they ask us to weaken an argument or a claim or a hypothesis. And so let's just go ahead and read this example. It says, given that domesticated dogs, Canis familiaris, are descended from gray wolves, Canis lupus, some researchers have posited or put forth the idea that modern dog breeds should, in general, retain the same basic skeletal structures as wolves, albeit in smaller or less pronounced forms. This idea is also supported by evidence that many dog breeds share similar limb proportions and jawbone structures with wolves, though typically in reduced sizes or with slight modifications. Okay, so the researchers claim, the thing that researchers are positing is this idea that modern dog breeds should in general retain the same basic skeletal structure as wolves, albeit in smaller or less pronounced forms. What we're given here is positive or supporting evidence, right? This is supporting evidence. This is evidence that supports that hypothesis. To weaken it, well, we just need something that, well, points in the other direction, something that doesn't support it. So it's not going to disprove it because we do already have some supporting evidence, but we want something to sort of counterbalance this. So if the hypothesis is that modern dog breeds, I'll just say dogs, should have the same basic skeletal structures, albeit in smaller or less pronounced forms than wolves, that's what we're looking for. So to weaken that, we want evidence that at least some structures are present in greater or at least equal form to what you see in wolves. So to the answer choices, A, some modern dog breeds have shorter snouts and smaller teeth than wolves, while others have longer snouts but smaller skulls overall. Okay, that's a little bit mixed, but shorter snouts and smaller teeth, that would support their claim. Longer snouts, okay, that would point in the other direction, but smaller skulls overall. So even though it's a little bit mixed, 3 of the 4 things that are mentioned would strengthen it, and we want something that would weaken it. B, certain breeds of domestic dogs possess jawbone structures that are significantly larger and more robust, more durable, stronger than those found in any population of gray wolves. That would weaken it. Checking the others, C, a newly discovered wolf population shows jaw and skull features that differ from okay, so here we're comparing one wolf population to another. That's just irrelevant. And then D, X-ray analysis reveals that the skeletal structure of a domestic cat, so irrelevant again. It's certainly a very familiar pattern, or a very frequent pattern that one encounters on these questions. You've got the 2 irrelevants, the one opposite, and then the correct answer. And so B is going to be our correct one there.